He can move mountains. Keep me in the valley. Hide me from the rain. Come on, our God is awesome. He heals me when I'm broken. Gives strength where I've been weak. Forever he'll reign.
Good evening to each of you, our Father's children. We thank you for tuning in to yet another edition of BCTV, and it is Thursday, so that means it is Testimony Thursday, and we thank you all so much. We're getting ready to close out this month, but you all know that for the entire month of May, we've been bringing you daily content to just keep you all engaged. We know that this pandemic has a lot of you at home. You're still quarantined in, if you will, and you may be bored, and we just wanted to do something unique, something creative, to just give you something to watch, to be inspired, give you something to watch, to be encouraged. And Testimony Thursdays have been one of my favorite days of the week in this BCTV series. And of course, you all know the past few weeks we've interviewed Pastor Charlie Burgess and his wife Dealey Burgess. We've interviewed Sister Tamisha Gunn and her daughter Mariah. Last Thursday we interviewed Sister Frida Harris. But I wanted to save somebody so special. Yes, all those previous people I've named are so special to us, but somebody who is extra special, if you will, to all of us, and that is our own Pastor Emeritus right here at Bethel Harbor Missionary Baptist Church, the Pastor Leo Owens. And I'm excited that he has granted us the opportunity to just have him share with us. He's going to be sharing his testimony about life, particularly his testimony about pastoring. So although this is for our Bethel Harbor BCTV series, I also encourage each pastor, if you're a pastor or you're in the ministry or you're called to be in the pastor, if you feel like that's God's calling upon your life, what you will hear here for the next few moments is very essential, and I promise you it will be very beneficial, because Pastor Owens has definitely dedicated his life to doing the work of the Lord, and there's no way within 30 or 35 minutes we can hear it all, but whatever we do here, I promise you will be helpful. So I just want to introduce him from myself. Pastor Owens and I have formed a relationship over the past 3 years since the baton has been handed from him to me. I'm so honored to literally stand in his shoes, and I promise you they are huge shoes to fill. I mean, my feet look like baby feet in the shoes that I am standing in right now as his predecessor. Nevertheless, these past 3 years, he has been right there, a phone call away, a visit away, a lunch meeting out at Dots away for us to speak and share with one another. And I just want to just thank him and just celebrate him. This interview means so much at this particular time. Pastor Owens, you always celebrated your pastoral anniversary around the fourth Sunday in May.
Right.
Fourth Sunday in May, and that was just past Sunday. So this year would have been 53 years. But it's also our church anniversary. I was explaining to Pastor Owens, of course, we flipped the calendar and we are celebrating our church anniversary nowadays in the month of May. And this Sunday would be our 138th church anniversary. And Pastor Owens has a stamp, a huge stamp within the history of Bethel Harbor Missionary Baptist Church. So that's another reason why this interview is so special. So I'm gonna turn it over to Pastor Owens now. I'm gonna ask him, that was my introduction of him, but I know that he can introduce himself even better. So if you don't mind just telling us about himself a little bit. And then from there, Pastor Owens, I want you to share with us once again, speaking of your pastoral testimony, your calling into the ministry. When did God show you? When did God come to you? When did God reveal to you that he wanted to give you that oh so important calling to preach his gospel?
Thank you, Pastor Thompson. Hello to the Bethel family. This is a pleasure for me to have the opportunity to do this interview with Pastor. Let me start with my conversion. I was converted on the 5th day of August 1948 on a Thursday. And I joined the Tritestone Missionary Baptist Church. Later years, I was connected with the West Side Missionary Baptist Church in Decatur under the leadership of Dr. Earl Scruggs. I served there as a deacon as well as at Tridestone. And in July of 1959 was my first notice that the Lord came to me to preach. I didn't know what was going on, but I knew that it was something that the Lord wanted me to do. And in 1963, the Monday after the second Sunday in September 1963, I acknowledged that calling. And I preached my first sermon the Wednesday night after the third Sunday in September 1963. I was licensed the first Sunday in January 1964. And I was ordained the first Sunday in January 1966. I was called into my first parish of the Mount Pleasant Missionary Baptist Church in Toluca, Alabama, on the first Sunday in February 1966. On the first Sunday in February 1967, first Sunday, I was called to preach, invited rather to preach at Bethel. On the first Sunday in March, I was invited back to preach, and they elected me as pastor that following Saturday. My first Sunday of pastorate was the fourth Sunday in March 1967. That's my bio along that. Now, I took the reins at Bethel. I was pastoring Bethel and Mount Pleasant through 1967. First Sunday in 1968, I took the full range of pastor of the Bethel Corbett Missionary Baptist Church, and I was there each Sunday from January 1st, 1968 until June the 3rd, 2017. It was a great journey. I loved the church. I love preaching. I love pastoring people, and the Lord just blessed me. And Bethel, you made me what I am. And I really appreciate you. I will always love you. You will always be very close to my heart. And you have one of the best pastors there is in North Alabama. Great friend of mine, very kind young man.
Thank you, Pastor Owens. Thank you. Listen.
Anything else you want to add?
No, listen. First of all, I just want to listen. Those Pastor Owens, I can't remember what happened to me last week. I mean, y'all hear those dates, 1948 conversion and 1950 something this night. He got the dates and the months, even the months in mind. So they'll let you know that this is that his mind is sharp as ever. Amen. And we listen. And you hearing you say that, as far as I want to start at Bethel, because for those of you who may not know, Pastor Owens served as the pastor of Bethel Corbett Missionary Baptist Church for 50 years, from 1967 to 2017. He served as pastor. So, Pastor Owens, whenever they called you, you say you preached a sermon there. It was in March, you said, 1967, and not too long after they called you. What was the first feeling you felt when you got that? I'm assuming at that time that phone call.
The building, it was a little white block building. No office, just a little cutty hole that for me to go in to kind of change clothes.
Oh yeah.
It was just a straight white block building. And we renovated that building. It's kind of a long story behind that. I won't get into it. I introduced the program to them to get it done. They said that they couldn't do it, and they didn't do it until finally they did do it, and they did part of it. And they had a wedding there one Saturday Reverend and Mrs. Smith, Willie Mack and Margaret got married, and it was hot. I believe it was the 28th of June. It was hot. And they had decorated the church with the flowers, and dark when they went in that evening for the wedding, the flowers had withered. I didn't do the wedding. Pastor First Baptist Sheffield did the wedding, but I was sweating. It was hot, man. Water was just running off of me. And after that, I asked about they readily. That was in June. Revival started the second Sunday in July. And the third Sunday in July, they had air. But at first they said they couldn't do it.
But after that wedding, they
After
changed their mind.
they were ready. They found a way to do it.
I think Smitty actually have told me that story before.
Yes, that's it. And then after that, we put in a baptizing pool. Then we built the L onto the church. They built me an office and a bathroom and all of that. And we outgrew that. And then I think it was in 78, we set out to start building. The present building now. And we went through the process of building. The members built it themselves. Brother late Shag Burgess was the leader in that job, and they did a great job. And in February of 83, we moved into the new sanctuary.
Wow. And that's the sanctuary that presently resides. And I mean, sanctuary, if you ever walk into Bethel Carver, it was even though it was built in 1983, is one of the most beautiful sanctuaries that you'll see in our area. And now, well, I'm blessed to have the opportunity to stand behind the podium and preach from. Pastor, I want to ask you this. 50 years of pastoring one church. And I know you've had many of them, both the highs and the lows. But just off the top of your head, what was your highest moment and what was your lowest moment?
My highest moment, I would think, were when we erected the building, were completed it, and were able to move into it. That was my highest moment. My lowest moment was during the process of the building. I went through a lot of stuff, and that was my lowest moment. It got to the point with the problems that was surging that I had the mind of leaving.
Wow.
And one of the members came to me and he said, Reverend Owens, you're not going to leave us like this, are you? And I said to him, no. But in the back of my mind, I said, I don't have to take this.
Yeah.
But before I got home, the Lord spoke to me. He said, you haven't completed the work I gave you.
Wow.
So I came back, and that never entered my mind again. That was my lowest point.
Yeah. And you know, that I'm glad you were transparent and sharing that with us, Pastor Owens, because that's one thing. Those of you who are watching, whether you're a member of Bethel Carver or you're a member at such and such church, you know, people have this view or this perception of we as pastors that from the morning we wake up to the time we lay our eyes and go to bed at night, that every hour of our 24-hour day, we're on a high, we're smiling, we're laughing, we're happy, we're joyous, we don't have any problems, we're prosperous, things are just 100% perfect in our lives, when just to be honest with you, that is so far from the truth.
Amen.
Yeah.
Amen. Reverend, the church is always in your mind. 24/7. You are on call 24/7.
Yeah.
You know, in my career, there have been times that I was down on my knees, getting ready to go to bed, praying my nightly prayer before I go to bed. The phone ring. I answered the phone. They said, "We need you at the hospital." That was on Saturday night.
Wow.
I went to the hospital. I stayed at the hospital 3 o'clock in the morning. But I got to preach 11 o'clock.
Yeah.
And those kind of things that you're never totally free per se, because the church, your program is on your mind. The time that you spent in prayer with the Lord, the time that you spend meditating, the time that you're not with your family. You desire to be with them, but you gotta go and serve the people.
Yeah, yeah. And Pastor, you are on it with that, because I know I can attest that it's like clockwork in your mind. I mean, I'm always thinking about, even on Sundays after preaching a sermon, I leave the pulpit, and you know what my mind is on?
Next Sunday.
What do I got to preach?
Yeah.
Wednesday night Bible study. I finished Wednesday night Bible study. What my mind is on? What's the Wednesday night Bible study? Sunday school. And you know, that's one thing that I want people to recognize. What you see in those 30 minutes of preaching in the pulpit, hours upon hours upon hours of studying and reading and writing went into that 30 minutes. That's and right. I don't think people realize just
the hours that you have spent in research, in building a sermon for 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Although all of those hours behind those 30 minutes, those you have spent, are packed into that 30 minutes. 30 minutes,
yeah. When
you go to the pulpit on Sunday morning.
Yeah.
So, you know, that I as a young pastor, as a young preacher, I had my pastor at that time was about 65 years old. I'm a 28, 29-year-old kid. Mm-hmm. And that old man took me under his arm, and he shared information with me. He shared things with me that I would face in my career.
Yeah.
He shared with me what I would be faced with as a pastor. And those things came to pass just like he told me that it would happen. So, you know, if you are a young pastor, a young preacher, you need to, your pastor is your best friend.
Yes, yeah.
He's your best friend.
Yeah.
Don't fight him.
No.
Get all you can from him.
Yeah.
Because you're going to need it, and he will be a great help to you.
He will. And on that note, one thing about Pastor Owens is that I'm blessed, and we'll get into this in a question here in a bit as far as our transition. But I lean and depend on him so much in asking him different things about the church whenever I'm having to make a decision, whenever something is you know, I perceive something and I want to kind of get confirmation from it, so I go to him. But I tell some of my young preacher colleagues all the time that to follow behind someone who pastored the current church I pastor for 50 years and not lean on him and talk to him, I will be a fool not to do so. And I truly, and I'm thankful that he is always willing to share with me. And Pastor Owens, that is something that you're known for. And let me say this, and this is for, there's a lot of people in our area, a lot of people in our church who know a lot of things about you, a lot of good things about you. You're a legend. But one thing that some people may not know is how you truly are the godfather, if you will, to younger preachers, myself included, and even some of the pastors in our district, in our association. I know my spiritual father, one of my spiritual fathers, Pastor Craig Scott. He looks up to you. Pastor Robert Pearl, Pastor Flip Ingram, my moderator, Pastor Carlos Felton, Pastor Thomas Bates, who's of course one of the sons of Bethel, Pastor William Smith, Dr. George Granville, one of the sons of Bethel. I mean, there are so many pastors, particularly young pastors here in this area who look up to you and who seek your counsel. And let me tell you, everybody who I just named, I know personally, and I know that they are smart men and they are smart preachers and pastors. Therefore, they're not going to go to just anybody for counsel. So the fact that they all come to you, they speak of you highly. Talk about that as far as whenever, because you just spoke about how you lean on your pastor. How did it make you feel when you realized after so many years you're not the young preacher looking up to older preachers, but now you're the older preacher who younger preachers look up to?
Pastor, it was a long time before I realized that. I was elected moderator of a Muscle Shoals district in '99, I believe it was, and this is when I realized that the confidence and the trust that those guys had in me.
Yeah.
I tried to carry myself in a way where that they would not be portrayed by me, that I would be honest and on the level with them.
Yeah.
If they asked me for advice, I wouldn't cut any corners with them. I came straight across the line.
Yeah.
Told them how it would be. And I guess this is what pulled me into the and the other thing there is that I'm not propping myself, but I was kind to those guys.
Yes.
You know, I was very friendly with them. I was kind to them, and I guess that's what pulled them in. You know, to me, I had no idea that those guys felt that way about me.
Yeah.
Until they finally told me.
Yeah.
And that's it. Doc, I think the thing is that to gain the trust is that being truthful, and if somebody come and talk to you about something, that's between the two of you.
Yes.
You know, you don't tell anybody else about that.
Yeah.
You keep that between the two of you. And that's the kind of person that I am. If you tell me something in person, you tell me something personally, unless you mention it again, I won't mention it.
Yeah.
And I'm definitely not going to mention it to anyone else.
Yeah. And that goes a long way, because you said two things there. And I'll just be honest, and Pastor Owens, you know I'm telling the truth. Even preachers, you can't trust every preacher. And you cannot assume every preacher is nice.
No, you can't. No, you cannot.
So you hold Pastor Owens two qualities: someone who's honest and truthful, someone who's nice, and someone who you can definitely confide in and not know they won't go anywhere else. And that is a rare trifecta.
Yeah.
Some may have one but don't have the others, but for you to have all three, that's no doubt a blessing.
That was one of the things that my pastor taught me.
Yeah.
One of the qualities that he said to me, he called me Parson. He said, Parson, don't be a lying preacher. And I tried to hold
true to that. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's awesome. So Pastor Owens, I now want to transition because you told us about March 1967 when you preached your first sermon at Bethel, and I was there to witness it. It was second Sunday in June 2017, a little over 50 years later, where you preached your last sermon as pastor at Bethel. Tell us what came to mind, what came to heart, what came to spirit to let you know it's time.
It's time for me to go.
It's time for you to go. What was, as far as retiring? And before you answer, let me say this. In the African American Baptist Church, in the Black Baptist Church, it is very rare that you have pastors who do what Pastor Owens did, and that is retire. Whenever there is a pastoral vacancy, either the pastor resigned and just left abruptly, they got kicked out, they went to another church, or they passed away, they died. You have some pastors who reach 50, 60, 65 years in pastoring one church, and they, the only reason they're not there is because the Lord called them home. But what led you to say, okay, it's time to retire, it's time to pass the baton, it's time to pack it up?
Reverend, that's not too hard of a question. The Lord was dealing with me on that.
Yeah.
He didn't just start in 17. I think I gave them a 16-month notice of my resignation.
Yeah.
I did it in a business meeting that I told them that they need to find them another leader because my time was up. I'd carried the church as far as I could carry, and the Lord had let me know that my work was complete there. In that, the Lord let me know back that time that my time was up. So I said, Lord, I'm going to be obedient. Just let me make the 50 years. I'd been there 49, I think, or going into 49. Yeah. And so just let me make the 50.
Yeah.
He granted that to me. I made him a promise that I would go. So he let me know, just like he let me know that he sent me there. The same way he let me know my work was completed, that he sent me there to do.
Wow. So you, when the Lord spoke, you listened.
I knew. I did.
Yeah.
I did. When he spoke and told me that, it was no regrets.
Yeah.
I had no regrets whatsoever.
Wow.
Because I felt like that, that the Lord had blessed me to lead Bethel out of the wilderness across the Red Sea. That's the kind of feeling that I had with the work that he had blessed me, and from where they were when I went there to where they were when my work was completed.
Wow. I love that imagery to cross the Red Sea, leaving. Wow.
Yeah.
So, Pastor Owens, I always share with my colleagues how blessed I am because, of course, me not being in the picture and not even knowing, and I don't think a lot of people know this, Pastor Owens. Me and you have never didn't know each other prior to me coming in and being considered as pastor.
You told me that you had been up there as a kid.
I was a kid. I went to revival. Pastor Clifford Mays preached revival, and I was a 18, 19-year-old UNA college student, and I went and visited, and I shook your hand, and I think that was about it. But of course, you didn't know me, and that was my first time.
No, I didn't recognize you at that time. I didn't know you, and when I didn't even know you when Brother Boyd brought your name in.
Yeah.
I didn't even know who you were. I didn't know. So when you came in, and I met you, and you say, I've been here before.
Well, you see so many people, so many different guests, so many different visitors.
And Doc, at one time, we had so many young people.
Yeah.
I guess we had more young people, man. That at one point, I had about 75 kids in the choir.
I heard that. Yeah. That's amazing. 75.
75 kids.
Lord. So with this transition, a lot of people ask me, how's it going at the church? How's it, when we go to the convention, state convention, and national convention, I run into some of my friends, around the country, how's church going, man? And I say all the time, man, it's going great. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, some of them, when I return the question and I ask them, how's it going? It ain't so great. And I will say this, of course, as I'm only 3 years in, and I know that ahead of me, there's a lot of ups and there's a lot of downs. There's going to be a lot of highs and a lot of lows. But I'm thankful because in these 3 years, I can count on one hand the number of lows, and they've been miniature lows, if you will. For the most part, this journey so far of myself pastoring and preceding you has been great. It's been joyous. It's been smooth. And I credit that to the transition.
Okay. Let me say this, Doc. Don't let that bother you, because the work that the Lord had for me to do, mm-hmm. I completed it.
Yeah.
You're much younger than I am. You see things different the way that I saw them. You follow the direction the Lord gives you.
Yeah.
Forget about me, what I done. Forget about whose shoes you're filling.
Mm.
Fill your own shoes.
Wow. I received it.
And follow the direction the Holy Spirit gives you.
Wow.
Don't let the work I've done, interfere with what the Lord guiding you to do.
Yeah. Wow. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm having and I'm amazed by that, Pastor Owens, because to hear that from you, because every chance I get, go ahead.
One of the other things, let me say that. See, I still love Bethel.
Yes.
And I want to see Bethel prosper.
Yeah.
That's the reason why I call you pastor.
Yeah. Wow. And that's
there ain't nothing I would do to hurt you, my brother.
Oh, I know that.
Nothing.
I know that. Everything you've done, and I know everything you will do is for our benefit as a church and for my benefit.
Yeah.
As the one that followed you, and Pastor Owens, I truly do everything I can to, of course, number one priority, please God. But I share this with you, and it's funny that I know we're on camera, but this is the kind of the same time a personal moment. I often think in the things I do, and the decisions I make, and the way I lead. You know what I think of a lot? I don't want to destroy or mess up what the work that this man, Pastor Owens, has put in building this church.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. I don't believe that you will.
Yeah.
Because, I think, and the reason I say that is because of the relationship that you and I has built since we came to know each other.
Yeah. As I often tell people, we keep in touch. We may not talk every day, but you better believe it's going to be at least one. We don't let a month go by without hearing each other's voices. And
I don't come visit you a lot.
Now let's talk about that. Let's talk about that. But no, this is a good thing. So let me share this. Whenever I came on the scene and I became the pastor, I want to say it was that last day. I want to say it was your last Sunday. You shared with me. It was after service, and Pastor Owens told me this. He said, "I'm here for you. I support you 100%. Anything you need, come see me, call me. But I'm not going to be here on Sundays." And I looked at him and said, "Why not, Pastor?" Mm-hmm. And he said, "I need to step back and out of the way so that they can see you."
Absolutely.
That's what he said.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's, I don't guess I need to say that. But I guess I need to. That's the reason why, like funerals, mm-hmm. that's your responsibility.
Yeah.
You the pastor.
Right.
You the one need to eulogize, not me. I'm not the animal.
Wow.
That's your job.
Yeah. Wow.
I respect you too much.
Yeah. And we shared conversations about that. Like I said, I won't go into them, but
we shared conversations on that.
Yeah.
And that's the way it is.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. And I thank you, Pastor Owens, for.
Now, let me cut you off. I'm sorry to cut you off.
No, go ahead.
If I'm able and can, I will come out of respect because I've known them so long.
Yeah. And it's understandable. Yeah. But it's one of those. I appreciate Pastor Owens because there are other pastors who retire, maybe not after 50 years, but they retire after 20, 35 years. 20 years, 25 years, 30, 35 years. And I'm not talking about in our area, but like I said, I'm blessed to know a lot of colleagues in the whole country and share stories with. And I've even heard stories where a young pastor comes in to see a senior pastor, and that senior pastor, I mean, from that next Sunday, that senior pastor is right there on the front row.
Don't slow down.
And that senior pastor is still making decisions behind the curtain, behind that new pastor's back. And I know you wouldn't do that anyway, even if you were there. But you gave me that space for like, as you said, for them to see me and seeing me, letting the reality set in. This is our pastor now.
Just right.
Yeah. And I appreciate that so much because many, like I said, many pastors who retire don't do that. They don't. So that just goes along to speak to once again your qualities and characteristics. The transition to me has helped me tremendously, Pastor Owens, because Bethel Colbert elected me. I remember it was the first Sunday in May 2017. But Pastor Owens did not officially retire until second Sunday in June 2017. So they elected me a month and a half before I officially took over. But that month and a half, I was able to get to know the people without officially being their pastor yet. I was able to be your understudy, to follow behind you, to see how you did things and see how things flow. I was able to learn some of the church history. Therefore, whenever the baton was passed from you to me at the benediction of that second Sunday in June service, I already had a rapport with the people. It wasn't one of those things where, as we said, there are some situations where a pastor resigns or a pastor is kicked out or a pastor just leaves for another church. And you have this period where that church for 6 months or for a year, or even for some churches 2 years, go without having a pastor.
Yeah.
And then when they call one, here's this pastor that comes in out of nowhere and knows absolutely nothing about the church. Whereas once again, I had the blessed opportunity and the chance to be familiar somewhat before I officially took the reins. And I just thank you so much for just the way that transition happened, because it's very rare but so special. And if I would encourage any church who, if you have a pastor that is going to retire and they've already told you they are going to retire, and I'm not saying this because I'm at Bethel Carbert and my relationship with Pastor Owens, but I would commend you all to get a blueprint from this man and from the deacons ministry and just those who played a role in that whole process of electing me.
It was great, I think, because I knew that my time was up.
Yeah.
And that, the man that's going to succeed me is the one that's going to be leading this church, not me.
Yeah.
That I understood that, and the love that I had for the church and for the people, I was willing when the day they had the election, and they told me who got the most votes. Well, they didn't run but one person. There was a yes or no vote.
Even that, I think, to me is the best way to go about it.
Yes, because you got a split situation.
Yeah.
There. If you don't want the guy, say you don't want him. If you do, boom, boom, boom.
Yeah.
But I think that you got a good number.
Yeah.
Of the ones that were present that day.
Yeah.
You got the buck of them. There were 10 or 15 no's.
Right. Yeah.
Something like that.
And I don't know who they are. I didn't want to know who they are. And
I don't either.
Yeah. I think that's best.
I don't either.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, I didn't even stay around.
Wow. I didn't know that.
No, the day of the election.
Yeah.
I didn't stay around.
Yeah.
I left.
You left? I didn't know that. Wow.
And I think when I came back that night, it was either that night or that Wednesday, Boyd might have called me that night.
That night,
Yeah. I don't forgot now, but I didn't stay around. I preached and gave the benediction. They say election today. Go downstairs and vote.
Yeah.
I got through preaching and fellowship in my office. And the other thing, Doc, that along with that, you see, my wife was going down.
Yeah, yeah.
My wife was sick.
Yeah.
And she was a lot sicker than not that what I thought, but a lot sicker than people thought she was.
Right.
And that, I think, that played a great role in the whole thing.
Yeah.
Is that she went down because in September of that same year, I was confined here with her.
I remember that, yeah. And that's the thing, and I share this, and we've had a lot of personal moments, Pastor Owens, and I don't think I've ever shared this with you. I know during that period, I remember you telling me around September that year that she was declining pretty bad, and I really, and even to this day, I'll be honest with you, I sympathize for you because I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe if you had control of situations, control of matters, whenever you retired after that 50 years of having to be at church every Sunday, never had a weekend to just go off and do what you wanted to do, 50 years of being on call, finally coming to retirement, I'm sure you had in mind, you and your wife, First Lady Emeritus Owens, traveling, just doing what you want to do. Like I said, you could plan a trip and don't have to worry about being back on Wednesday night or Sunday. I mean, but looking forward to that. And Pastor Owens, like I said, I never shared this with you, but that my heart broke for you when I saw, and I just be honest, I told myself this. I said, this he can't enjoy his retirement.
No, not
at that time.
Not like I had planned.
Yeah.
Because we had big plans.
Yeah.
We was going to. I got family in Kentucky, Indiana, Ohio, California.
Yeah.
All around.
All around. Yeah. Yeah.
And we were just going to go some places, man.
Yeah.
And just sightseeing.
Sightseeing. Yeah.
But she wasn't able to do it when I retired, and come September she went down.
Yeah, and you know that's even that, because you talk about 50 years of being on call, 50 years of having your mind on the church, and now being free from that. You know, and I say that in a positive way. You know, having that liberty to not be so boggled down mentally about the church, having that freedom to not have to worry about being awoken 4 o'clock in the morning with a phone call. But it transitioned from you having your mind and your focus on that and being you transition from being a caregiver of an entire congregation to now having to literally be a caregiver
for my spouse,
for your spouse.
Yeah, and that's what happened.
Yeah.
It actually went from a caregiver of the church,
Yeah,
to a caregiver of my spouse.
for your spouse. Yeah.
I had it was September, I believe it was, that I called in hospice.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had to call in some caregivers.
Yeah.
Of course, I had to fire 2 or 3 of them because they wasn't doing what they supposed to do for what they were being paid to do.
Right.
And I had to get rid of them. So it finally boiled down to about, I think, the girl left in February. No, it was in the fall, like she left. But anyway, the last 6 or 7 or 8 months, my daughter and my granddaughter took care of her.
Yeah.
You know, along with me.
Yeah. Cause I know that was. It would be times like I said, I would call Pastor Owens and say, hey, you want to meet up for lunch, and he'll have to go through, say, well, let's do it this day, because that particular day he was busy having to be here with First Lady, and then he'll have to call somebody to come in for 2 hours while me and him met. So you went through a lot with that.
I went through a lot.
Yeah.
And let me not change the conversation, but let me inject this into this conversation too. It's one major mistake, Doc, that I made in my ministry. I have 6 children. I baptized 3 of them. But I let them join our home church. I should have brought them
to Bethel.
Yeah. And let them grow up under me.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that, Doc, until it was too late.
Wow.
Because I wasn't expecting to be at Bethel 5 or 6 years.
Yeah.
And I was going to be gone to another church somewhere.
Yeah.
And I didn't want them going from church to church.
Right. And I believe you shared that with me before, as far as that's. In fact, you said that at your anniversary, the afternoon, your last anniversary. Pastor Jerry Reed's Galilee, they came, and of course, we honored you, and I remember you saying that to the congregation.
That's a mistake I made.
Yeah, I remember you saying
that I wish so many times that, of course, they had good pastors, but they wasn't like me.
Yeah.
Not that I think that I was so much better pastor, but they needed to have, and that eats at me, Reverend, more since that I
Wow.
retired, got grown, because my youngest son, I was over at his place one day last week, probably Saturday, and he was talking about, the relationship he and I have.
Yeah.
And he said to the other people that were there, he'd say, "This is my buddy." He said, "If there's anybody that I feel like that walked the straight line, my daddy and my brother."
Wow. Wow. I know that probably drew a tear to it for you.
Yes, sir,
Yeah.
dog. Yes, sir.
Wow. Wow.
Yes, sir.
Well, Pastor Owens, listen, there's so much more we can talk about here. And like I said, 50 years of pastoring, I mean, we can talk for hours upon hours and upon hours.
Yeah.
And I got a feeling that it's going to have to be a part 2 of this because there.
Whatever you do, Reverend, whatever I can do to make you happy, I'm free to do it.
Oh, I know you are. Listen, Pastor Owens, you like I said, there's not a thing that I've asked Pastor Owens for in these 3+ years, or going on 3 years, that he said no to. He's always.
I will do, if I can.
Yeah.
I'll do it.
Thank you.
And be glad to do it.
Thank you.
You're my friend.
Thank you. And you is mine.
You're my friend.
Yes.
And I want you to know that, and you will know it, because I'll prove it to you.
You already proved it. You have already proved it, Pastor.
Yeah.
Like I said, I'm just blessed to just have you in my life. You are not only a part of my ministry, but you are a part of my life. You really are. I always cherish you, man. And like I said, Beth will always cherish you. I make sure he knows this. There's not a time that he's at Bethel that I don't honor him and have him come up and speak.
Yes.
Because
there may come times that I come and that I may need to sit in the audience.
Yeah. And I understand that.
Okay.
I understand that, but
okay.
Like I said, 50 years of pastoring, and those of us who are in the ministry, we know that this is not an easy job.
Yeah.
People are not easy.
This thing you call pastoring, dog, it's a 24/7 job.
Yes.
People look at us, those 30 minutes that we are there on Sunday morning, 25 to 35 minutes that we are there on Sunday morning, that 45 minutes we're teaching on Wednesday night, and look at what they pay us, they think that's
No.
It don't measure up.
It don't measure up. That's one thing I've always, you got some people who think pastors got money. I don't know where they got that from.
I don't either.
Oh,
I don't either.
I don't either. But
I don't either, dog.
Yeah.
He has to keep himself presentable.
Yes.
He has to do that.
Yeah.
And that's not cheap.
It's not. And it's a hard work. And I say this, if you take it serious, that's what makes it tough, because something you don't take serious is always it is going to be easy,
right?
Because you don't really care.
If you are sincere and you are serious, dog, it's hard.
It's hard. And it's hard.
And the other thing, dog, the deprivation of your family.
Yeah.
Dog, that's a bit sacrifice, dog.
It is.
At the early stage of my ministry, my kids were young, and I'd start pastoring, and my boys, I had 4 boys.
Yeah.
and they playing little league ball, little league football, baseball, and man, I feel like that I got to keep my head buried in this book every chance I get.
Yeah.
And I when I realized my second oldest son was playing his junior year in basketball.
Yeah. It seemed like it just came out of nowhere.
Yeah. I didn't miss a game. This junior year, they won the championship. The next year, I didn't miss a game.
Wow. And that's a good lesson for myself and other young pastors.
Yeah. You got boys. You need to spend some time with those boys.
Yeah.
You need to find the time to spend with them.
Yeah. And I'm learning that, Pastor. And I've tripped over some hurdles in my family life when it comes to that, as far as that balance of time dedicated to the ministry and time dedicated to the church. I mean, I remember it was last September, 3 weeks in a row I wasn't at home. We was in New Orleans for the convention all week. That was the first week of September. The week after that, I had to be in Atlanta the whole week for school, for my doctorate program. Then the week after that, I did a 4-night revival up in Ohio and was gone 3 straight weeks. And I came home after the third week after I came back from Ohio from revival. And my wife, she never did say anything, but I knew.
They don't have to.
They don't have to. They don't have to.
They don't have to.
Yeah, and I knew then I can't do that anymore. I gotta make some. I can't do that to her.
I could. I were in seminary. I was going to an extension center out of Selma.
Yeah.
And things got rough with me because I was working. I was building the church.
Yeah.
I was going to school, and I was pastoring.
Ooh, man.
I'm gone Monday night, Tuesday night, Wednesday night, and Thursday night.
Wow.
I'm gone.
Yeah.
Monday and Tuesday I was in school. Wednesday night I was at Bible study.
Yeah.
Thursday night I was in school.
Wow.
I got to get the assignments. I got to get ready for Sunday. I got to get ready for Bible class. I got to get them assignments.
Yeah.
If I expect to
pass. Yeah.
And that went on for 5 years.
Oof.
Reverend, it was rough.
Yeah.
When we get off the camera, I'll tell you.
I believe it.
Yeah.
I believe it. That's just another thing that, a lot of the laity, a lot of the members, they just don't see or they don't think about, like I said, the other side to it. So
it's more to it than what meets the eye.
What meets the eye? That's it.
More to it than what meets the eye. One of the things that I tell pastors, I got some friends that we basically talk just about every day. We talk 2 or 3 times a week. And I tell them, even my nephew next door here, I tell him, man, I'm glad I'm not in this pastory thing now. I'm glad I'm retired. Oh, Doc, I don't know whether I could take it or not.
Oh man, we talked about that before we started.
Yeah, I don't know whether I could take it or not.
Yeah,
because technology now, and I'm not the best with that, and I would be behind.
Yeah. It's definitely. I shared with Pastor Owens before we began this interview. It's been tough these past 2.5 months. Of course, with the virus, churches being closed down, doing stuff like what we're doing right now. You are seeing this, because of the virus. Once again, this whole idea of BCTV daily content was just to engage with you all, so I can provide something that we can still virtually reach you as members. But it's not easy. It's tiring. Yeah. So, well, Pastor Owens, we're going to close out here. Everything that has been spoken in this interview, I believe, has been beneficial to everybody who's had their ears open. But before we go, if there's any, I want to stay focused on the ministry and pastoring, because, like I said, you having 50 years, there's so much you had to offer, and I hope that there's a lot of pastors and ministers who are watching this. If there was one piece of advice you give to a pastor who, but speaking of this current time and moment, they've had it rough here, finances of the church aren't coming in as well because of the virus. They don't know when the doors of the church are going to come back open. They themselves spiritually just don't feel the same. Their desire, their passion of studying and preaching has deteriorated due to having to adjust to preaching to a camera instead of preaching to pews full of people. If there was one piece of encouragement you would give, you could give them, what would it be?
Reverend, it would be, don't lose hope.
Don't lose hope.
And don't lose faith.
Yeah.
Keep trusting the Lord. Keep doing what you are doing. And above all of it, stay on your knees. Yeah. Stay in a relationship with God.
Yeah.
Where that you will be able to hear God when he speaks to you through the Holy Spirit.
Wow.
That you will be able to see the visions he give you through the Holy Spirit. If you do that, the whole thing is in the hand of God, and God knows what he's doing. He will get you through it.
Yeah.
Maintain your faith and your relationship with the Lord.
Wow.
That's about all I
Hey, that is definitely enough and needed right there. And I received that for myself as well. And I hope that any pastor who, once again, who may fall into that category receives that also. Pastor Emeritus Leo Owens, Pastor Emeritus of the Bethel Carpet Missionary Baptist Church. We love you, man. We thank God for you. Everything that you've done and everything that you continue to do as far as just blessing the people of God and blessing everybody that has the opportunity to come across from you. So thank you for taking time to do this. Listen, we're in his living room, and I'd have had couches moved, I'd have had tables moved. So I'm about to get to work and put in his living room back to put that back in place. But listen, we thank you for tuning in to BCTV Testimony Thursday with our special guest, Pastor Emeritus Leo Owens of the Bethel Carpet Missionary Baptist Church. And we pray that you've been blessed by this, and we look forward to coming back to see you. I believe it's going to be a part 2, Pastor. We look forward to doing part 2. Y'all be blessed. Thank you.